Oh,
Almost one SEC.
yes. We have returned to the recording. Yes, powers of recording and stuff. I just woke up. So, you know. Anyways.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, pal.
Yeah. What is life? Anyways, while they continue typing up their thing, I'm about to sneeze, so give them more time. Anyways, I've been working on the equipment guide some more still progress is being made there. Um, I've also been working on a faction creation system and a few other things. I have the basic outline of the faction creation system finished.
I have my own version of that to compare.
Nice. Nice.
Own version of what, sorry?
Faction creation
Faction
system.
creation. It's mostly just steps more so than a system, air quotes, but...
Mm-hmm. We might be in the same boat then.
It's entirely possible.
But yes, that's my progress. Most of this week has been
gotcha.
prepping for the trip
factions
taken.
are loose in our current Syrik stuff, but a guide for what they're meant to be conceptually will be good.
No, I think this was steps for players to create their own faction.
Exactly.
We already have the steps for
oh, okay, that's also really good to have LMAO.
Come on. You have to agree that it'd be great to be sound in Christopher Walken's voice.
No.
Maybe.
I think I briefly went over that actually in Council General a couple weeks ago about how I'd approach it in Eldaria. Not sure if you saw it, Pi, but I can dig it up for you if you'd like to take a look too.
I probably did not see it, and if I did, I do not recall.
I'll try and find it later for you.
I still got the doc of what I did, like, yesterday, day before. So.
Alright.
Here we go.
Nice. Alright, for number one, if you're wanting to help, then I can give you access. Otherwise, it is being changed so much, so heavily, so often. There's no real reason for me to show staff right now. I'm like, here's what it looks like currently. You're like, cool, and then you're like, oh, why is it different now? The very next day.
It was just in hopes that some of the rules are kind of set so that we can get used to it beforehand and have an idea what's going on.
So first topic, this is for NERB. ND was basically asking if we can get a released version of WIPEG somehow, which I think is good for just people being able to contribute more directly or otherwise account for what systems are being changed to be ready ahead of time.
Yeah, so,
if it's that in flux, then there's not a whole lot of point to that, but if it's starting to settle down, then I think getting it towards staff so that we can start understanding it will be really useful.
The things that are settled down have been moved to World Anvil.
Gotcha.
the other thing with it is we need a concrete proof of when it's out because it will affect origins, birth,
Hmm.
birth thingies, classes because of the Switch. So
It's going to impact a
having it
lot of
when
different
it's
systems.
yeah, so have it when it's done is the better recourse because we will have to do a lot of r- r- retcons for people.
Yeah, though.
Well, it's not about releasing it to the public. It's about so that way we aren't dumped with a 500-page document to get to know in 1 week.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Uh,
Specifically,
I
at the
would
same time
say.
players are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say the next big thing that is actually done that's not on World Anvil yet, just because of the massive undertaking that would be currently, which would draw my attention away from working the guide, would be the armor and weapon crafting system. So those who do have access to the guide currently,
I think an overall question for the EG is what the current goals for a next public release will be. Is it to have descriptions for all missing item stuff or a particular system or what? It's okay if it keeps changing as you come up with new ideas, but I would highly recommend iterating for goals to release as versions.
I mean, the goal for this one hasn't changed, fortunately. It's finalizing the items that are missing, as well as updating the armor and weapon crafting systems, including when I'm referring to items missing, I'm referring to the magic item creation system too. It's missing a lot of stuff. It also deals with, as a sideline, because it's not technically part of the equipment guide, it's more of a side guide, but it's kind of coincides. The structures document.
Is that there an accurate description of the main goal?
I'd say for this one, the crafting system in general, because it's not just armor and weapons; it also is heavily tied with the magic item creation system as well. But yeah, overall, it's just all items being looked at, um, armor, weapons, and magic item creation are being heavily looked at.
I do feel like the rule sets for Inside It are done. That is definitely a reason to release it to staff to start understanding. But if that part isn't like set, then I agree with the holding off.
Yeah, I think weapons are done. Armor's also done. It's just I don't think it's in the guide yet because I do some work outside of the guide too.
Yep. I just don't want this to be another release that staff has like no time to actually prep for because we get it
Yeah.
at the same time the players do. And that's all I'm trying to avoid. So
Mhm.
that's it. Just keep it in
Okay,
mind.
that's the set goal. I think it'll be good to section of specific tasks that you'd like staff to contribute towards, or any segments you'd like to get eyes reviewing on so it can be done in parallel.
Well, the current staff tasks, which has not changed, would be the converting every single weapon and armor currently in existence to the new armor and weapon crafting systems, which is what I'm currently doing. Like, I literally have the book open and I'm doing that right now. Or the book's open. Which, by the way, is one of the things that's in flux. So while I did finish the system for determining the weight and craft time of all the different weapons, armor's already set, so that one's fine. Some of the values given here are work in progress because on paper they look fine. I need to determine if they are good for each different weapon type. So from light weapons to one-handed, from two-handed to heavy. So like all those 4 different types. If it's like way too much, for say an exotic weapon, then I need to look at values. which I've been doing. I'm pretty close to that one being finalized, but yeah.
Gotcha. So big project is converting everything to be compatible with the equipment guide.
Yes.
Do you have a draft of the rules that can be used for people to convert and a list of the items to check off which ones are done and not?
I mean, the weapon crafting system itself is done. Those who have access to the crafting guide are free to slap that on a world anvil. What do you mean by cost or properties?
Who has access to that at the moment? I don't think that's actually tracked or anything, but I assume it's econ or balance.
There's 2 in econ who have access, if I remember correctly.
Is this a doc or using the word share thing?
This is the word share thing. As close as we can, but the craft score will be different. So, like some of the weapons, as an example, let me just go back to the. Let me just share my screen. Might make it easier. Yep, screen number 2. Go. So, for some of the weapons, I've been working on simple weapons conversion, so I've finished converting all of them. I'm just adding in their durability components, complexity training tool systems now. Um, their craft score has changed because one, the property costs have changed as you're suggesting right there. Two, some of them receive free properties just because of their weapon type. So, like if it's rating 1 hammer, as an example, it might receive uh, certain properties for free. Um, let's see here. Just realized I probably should have a. Um, a view of what I'm doing on the recording too. I'm setting that up. Anyways, while I try to figure that out, while there's a cat on my lap blocking me from my keyboard. Where was it? Might have been Mace. No. One of these was originally a DC 17. It's now a DC 15. That's yeah. Some of them are lower. Some of them I was like, oh, I'll keep that at the same DC and just give it some penetration value. So like, the Mace I give penetration value of 4. But I think Mace might be the one that used to be 17. Now it's 15. Either way though, some of the values have changed. I got it as close to the original stats as I could. Added some new stats. Made sure the DC was similar. It's doing its job. I've also added new items. So like the heavy mace didn't exist. The mace used to be the light mace, but now it's the mace.
I'm gonna note this is getting a bit beyond the initial scope of the question of making sure staff aren't overwhelmed by the e.g. my primary suggestion NERP is just getting out any sections you think are complete and can be used by the team to start crowdsourcing conversions as well as just people getting more familiar with it. This serves both to potentially accelerate the completion of the conversions but also let us start planning the merge process, which 100% will be a pretty difficult update, harder than even the tier increase, I'll be honest.
Yes. It is true. It's helping with not being overwhelmed. So, where was I? There's still mention of ounces, unfortunately. Yeah. All you need to know is the ounces are 1/16 of a pound. You need 16 ounces to the pound. That's what matters.
Guys, you already do math to play D&D. You can do math for ounces.
Yeah.
It won't kill you.
I don't want to.
We're not going to when the market's done, because this is automatically going to calculate all these for us. So that's another thing that can be added to the do list for economy who wants to help out. Would be the conversion of the weapon crafting system, because that's not done yet, into the market.
How's that gonna be converted into the market? What?
Well, I had help from. I was pretty sure it was you, Prisrick, who helped out. Anyways, the market, I had peeps help out with putting the armor crafting system on there, by adding the different weights and whatnot, and had them automatically convert and add up the total based on the armor stats. Same exact system, but for weapons. Yeah. But the earlier question I noticed in chat being of blind. I swear I saw this question. There it is. This one on the shared guide, right? Yeah, no, this is the equipment guide. So it doesn't have any of the crafting stuff in this one, because we did split the 2 books. So this one is not currently shared. Like, the only thing that I would be doing would be replacing the weight system from the Imperial to the metric, and that's going to confuse people even further. I prefer
Number
it.
2 is just initial discussions on prestige rewards from Laddersmith. Basically the summary is that we're getting near prestige numbers which can enable some rewards, so we should start planning on how to create custom factions, which lack any baseline mechanics rules, though I assume Pi and NERP's prototype things will help with that.
Yeah.
My thoughts on that are that we don't really need to have super detailed rules, but we can give rough simple packages for basic stats factions will be able to benefit, and then everything else has to develop naturally depending on the faction and investing more prestige or resources IC or interactions with regions.
So I'm going to be honest, I missed about half of that. I was also still in the middle of going over the equipment guide stuff. But in terms of this guide and getting help converting all the weapons to the new system, I'm happy to share the system. I just need to know who's wanting to help. Looking back at the crafting guide, though, all the different weapon properties, they're all organized into their different categories of what tech level they're found in. The different weapon designs are found within which tech level they're found in, how to craft them, the systems they're in. Actually, this shouldn't have work in progress anymore. It's good. So, like, this whole chunk of page 52 to page 136, that's all done. And then armor crafting is also done, but I need to still put it into this guide because it's a different location. But yeah, no, with that though, these are the different weights. They're in flux, so this is the only thing that's really. If it looks weird, I need to do the measurements different again. Yes. The ultimate goal is for everything on the guide to be on World Anvil, but also to be in the market, which is the Google spreadsheet. Yeah. I mean, the market will definitely help me because when I'm crafting these items, I have to go back on the item crafting system and look out how many components they use because I keep forgetting to do that when I'm making the item itself. So I'm like, okay, I have the weight and the craft time, and then I forgot to grab the components, so I can just It's an issue. So it's slowing things down a little bit. Anyways, the use of ounces is important because the way that the weight system is calculated, unless I made it like 1/50th of a pound per, it's not really gonna work. And if I do it anything more than ounces, so if I did like a tenth of a pound, for example, it's still not gonna give the same variance in weights as ounces provide. It's under the equipment folder. It's fine, like I say, it's just part of the crafting system. That I'm answering questions for those who know how the crafting system functions. So it's probably, more crafty than you're used to. Because it's some deep crafting knowledge. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, if you guys want to help out, just DM me and I'll slap you on the equipment guide so we can start helping with the conversion of items too, because that's a big one. But yes, that is the main stuff. Prestige reward considerations. Can you go over that topic
Gotcha.
again?
Yeah, I was confused why we were talking about ounces. Did you see the conclusion for the EG question?
Prestige reward initial discussions. Faction creations. I've already been working on the system. I know Pi is working on a faction creation system too. It is essentially a tier 1 faction, so the intention is it's not going to have much of any actual factional benefits. It will have at least one.
The
But
thing
it's-
that I wrote
yeah.
is basically just you spend prestige, influence, and gold to get a faction HQ, and you can say that you have a faction now. You still need to do more stuff to get more than just you have an HQ.
Yeah,
That's basically the long and short of the short little 4-step list I have right now.
There. I just realized my faction crafting guide is on my laptop, so I don't have it right now. I can't show. Nice.
Neat.
Nice.
I do like everything in fucking Google Docs.
That's fair.
To be fair, last time we talked about factions, we came to like a small consensus that player factions wouldn't get the stat increase bonuses. Is that still intended, or are we changing that as well?
I do not recall this
Gotcha.
decision. My intention is
It
that they
wasn't
will
necessarily a
function.
decision, it was more a consensus because we talked about it for probably 15 minutes and how we didn't want factions to eclipse main factions, and that was like a brief discussion for probably 10-15 minutes.
So, I definitely agree that player made factions should not eclipse them, but also I want to make sure that they are on the same system. So if players
Sure.
do get to a point where their faction is as powerful as a main faction, they should be on the same playing field. So
Sounds good.
They need to work to get there, but
yeah, they definitely need to work to get there, which is what this,
Mhm.
the system I have, which I'm going from memory here because I don't have the book in front of me, so I can't show it to you guys. There are 9 different factional tiers. Well, I'm using a different word in the guide, but it goes from rank 1 faction, which are called
Like the brand
gangs.
new.
I'm pretty sure, like basic small gang of individuals. And it goes all the way up to rank 9, which is a divine rank. So like cross-planar size of a faction. So I have these different levels of play. I think it's unlikely that we'll ever see a divine rank anytime soon, like at all. Like even our current
I
factions.
I appreciate the last second addendum of any time soon
Yes,
because these are D&D players. They're going to try to get the best shit possible, and if it
that's
means
yeah.
that they're going on a fucking 3-year long mission to turn their faction into a divine one, they're going to do it.
Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
but the basic system has the different rank tiers of the different faction levels, from the gang to divine, and then it lists what those tiers provide and how to get. So, like how a faction would rank up from, say, a posse to a I'm forgetting rank 4, or rank 3. I mean, um,
Sure. As long as there's just as long as there's like a clear definition too of how to actually rank up
yeah, yeah,
the
that's
faction and then how to rank up in a faction.
yeah, that's in the
I'm
guide.
totally fine with that.
So it's providing those rules, it's providing how players can do it, or being a member of a faction as well as being leaders of factions on how to increase their faction rank. But it tells you also how many benefits it might provide. It will have one of the things I'm currently working on in the guide is the benefit list. I'm going through all the current factions, providing those abilities, or at least a version of them, to the faction creation guide, and then providing new ones to the list so players can like, kind of like the quality system that we have, a pick and choose benefit option where they can be like, I want that benefit, slap it on the faction. Um, and these benefits will have level locks or rank locks, as it were, for the faction. So, as well as rank placement locks. So you have to be like at least a third rank member within this faction to gain its benefit.
As long as it's not too oppressive, I think that's fine. And what I mean by that is a lot of the faction work that we have done for our region factions has been specifically designed to have only certain benefits. And if you allow people to choose, they're just going to choose the most oppressive out of all of them. So that part I am concerned about. But also, obviously, I haven't seen it to really like draw concerns from. But
Yeah.
just from hearing it, that is just a concern that I do have.
Yeah, all the ones that we are pushing to the higher ranks will have higher rank requirements.
Right.
And they are all going to have a point system to them. So, like how the quality one has quality tiers 1 through 3, or in the case of structures 1 through 6, the faction system's benefits will have greater point values based on how powerful the feature is. So, like, if you really don't want them to have a certain feature combined with another feature, we can make it so the cost would not mechanically allow for them to be combined.
Yeah, that's fine. And
TBH
again,
rank
it's
locks
just like
kinda seem arbitrary for players. Region factions having locks is because they're overall stronger and more interconnected and impactful politically. Letting faction leaders set rank locks makes sense. That's basically just letting them set their ranks and progression.
All right. Real quick, legacy. I don't think anyone mentioned anything on topic 3, so um, shooting ahead to topic 4 is a little bit of a jump there, even if no discussion's needed. But
yeah. So 4 was mine, and that's just because we have specific item rules, and it's not easily accessible for players to really find or DMs to find and understand.
yeah,
So like I had to spend time in a session just going over it because I had to look up like, oh, what would be like an object health according to this of like a hammer if they hit a wall.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like
that's fair.
so something like that where I had to spend like 10 minutes going through and actually looking up the values in a guide that's 500 pages long is a little bit much.
Yeah, no problem. You can
Um,
definitely get those on World Anvil. I've done some edits to them in the new guide, mostly just additions. So I've clarified what column weapons and armor are found in, as an example. So you don't have to be like,
Hmm.
Is it a fragile piece of equipment for this armor, or is it sturdy or whatever I called it?
Yeah. And it was the same way with. I will get to it eventually. I have another suggestion for the scroll casting one too, but
Yeah.
we'll get to that.
We'll get to that one. But yeah, no. As for topic 3, converting channels and roles to Discord channel and rules system. I definitely think that should be done. Getting the integrated role system instead of using the bot workaround that we had to use before that system was made is definitely something good to add. Also, will clean up some channels for us, so you know.
Topic 3 basically has nothing to discuss because it's a tech department thing to just poke them and say, hey, does anyone understand this, or can look at Discord documentation.
Certainly fair. All right. Topic 4. Already mentioned that. Yes, go on World Anvil. That one's good to go. Any changes I make right now are just going to be additions, so they're easy enough to add post being added to World Anvil. So that one's fine. And that one is in the crafting guide, so at least I think my most recent changes were in the crafting guide. Let me scroll down.
Question for number 4. Do we have that rule set somewhere right now? It's in currently released crafting guide?
Yeah, it's in the current crafting guide. But not a lot of people in general want to read it, because if they're not doing crafting, like, I don't need to read it. And there are just some rule sets that are specifically in there that naturally people would miss.
Mm-hmm. All right, seems like I've put my most recent changes in the equipment guide rather than the crafting guide, so I just copied them over. So that should now be readable for you guys. Anyways, yeah.
Do you recall which page it's on, Earlobe? If nobody's available, I can look at sticking that on the WA.
I have no clue.
Page 3. It's the very first chapter header.
It's in there though.
Yeah, page 3. And if you look at the
Also,
equipment
my only
guide,
question would be, should it be a new page or should we stick it on an existing page, NERP?
new page. There's enough rules in here that it should be on its own page. Especially since I intend to add rules for like structure durability to it as well. Because, the question you had of how much HP does this wall have should be noted.
And I know not everyone wants to do stuff with item HP and stuff like that, so I think even just having like a quotation of optional rule would be good too, and just like check with your DM if they use it, so that way when we're giving out items and stuff, we still give it out, but whether or not it's being used is another thing entirely. Because it can be a little much to know like all of it all at the same time, and knowing like, oh yeah, my sword does this damage against this, and it takes 2 HP, but it has hardness 6, so it doesn't get damage unless it takes at least 6 damage. Stuff like that. Like, people in general, some DMs aren't gonna want to get that in depth, and that's okay. But
I think
would just
having
have
the
a
wording
note.
for
Yeah,
it being optional is fine, but it is absolutely the rules that we do use. So
yeah.
if a GM is going to use what's the durability of this weapon and armor, they 100% should use this system rather than their own, because we don't want to
If a
confuse
GM
players.
wants to crunch numbers, then they should use that page.
Exactly. But I would rather it have as presented as like, hey, this is an optional thing, not like oh my God, now all the players have to deal with all of this and they have to know it. Like, because it's going to be
It's one of
completely
those things
dependent
where
on.
it's rare will
Yeah.
ever actually occur, but when it does occur, it should be this system. So
Exactly. And so that's why I just wanted to have like the optional tag up there for it. So that way it's not like a freak out, like,
Definitely.
why is this being, so.
yeah. And as for your thing, Laddersmith, like I said, everything in the durability section is done. I'm just adding to it. I'm not changing anything that's currently in existence. Um, Also, it is on page 3. Yeah, page 3 of the crafting guide. That is. Like you have the title page, you have the errata page, and then you have the item durability. You're looking at the equipment guide. I'm talking about the crafting guide, the work in progress document. Talking about the equipment guide, which I do also have open currently. Item durability is found on page 30, chapter 3, page 30. No, I don't. I'm not the only one with access. There's other people in the economy department who have access. If you want to help out, as I mentioned when we were going over the section, topic 1, just DM me and I can get you access so you can start helping out. Yeah. Durability is fine to be added to World Handle. It's a finished system. Let's see here. Topic 5, the pregnancy talk quotations. I'll copy these into a notepad so I have access to them easier.
Okay, number 5. I honestly have no idea where to start with this, and I also don't know if it's even relevant, but Pi probably has notes on it. The quote-unquote pregnancy talk
So,
progeny and passing things down.
No,
so,
it was brought up by ND actually.
so this came up because someone asked the question of, uh, widows and wives, and then it got into the talk of someone's going to ask the question of children and how it all works, and then we're going to have to go deep into the whole thing of all, do we put them on soft retirement and things like that.
Yeah. In terms of an heir slash prodigy inheritance system, that's already in place. So we don't need to worry about that. That's the prestige inheritance system. If you retire a character, the inherited individual does not get anything besides what's marked, and that's for balance purposes, even though it does break immersion. Because yes, while you certainly would be like, hey, my young lad who has grown age to become an adventurer, totally will give you all my adventuring gear because I'm retired. Um, yeah, that's hugely going to break balance if we allow that. So prestige system for inheritance is already in place. Also, by the time you would retire, you'd have at least enough prestige to, likely provide some items to your heir. Um,
I don't remember much of the conversation on account of it being late, I think. And also the past couple of days being kind of a blur for me, so.
Yeah. There will be long time skips, but they're going to be few and far between. So most of the time we'll be playing in a similar era.
How long do you expect those time skips to be? Just out of curiosity.
Like the large ones or the
Yeah, the large ones, because I imagine the short ones are going to be like a year or two.
well the short time skips have been like a couple months or like a month.
Mm-hmm.
We have the current one, which is the tier increase, which is 3 months.
Before the
Yeah.
progeny stuff, do we have a released rule set on having children and the time period required?
As of
Because
current,
this does kinda make me wonder how we're going to judge when things complete, even without caring about the mechanics of pregnancy. we can generally just assume it completes with time progressions after enough months have progressed, but I assume we don't want to make pregnancy easily available unless it coincides with a large time skip.
So, in terms of pregnancy rules, outside of what Pi has, the only thing I have for like durations and whatnot is just um, the racial durations as normal. So, like humans are 10 months pregnancy, which means for the game purposes, um, that's essentially 10 downtime day drops because we'll be doing downtime days every month once we get to a certain point where it's automated possible. You were going to say something, Pi?
No, it's just as of right now, I don't think pregnancy is allowed.
Does anyone here have a problem with us just saying a PC can't have kids unless they retire?
Yes. Anyway.
For the time being.
Yes. Anyway. So right now it's just straight up not allowed, just because the actual rules for children aren't completed. The way that it worked in the old world, if we wish to call it that, was I had basically said at one point, man, all of this math is annoying. I'm setting the gestation period for every race to 9 months. If you have a problem with that, suck it the fuck up. So.
Okay, thank God. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more of a headache I get.
If we want to change that for Syrik, that's up to people here, but I've been acting on the assumption that they're all just going to take the amount of time
So,
we say it.
I think having it be simplified from what it actually is, I think that's fine. It should definitely not just be one number though, because there are races that only live like a year, and if we have it be 10 months, which is the period for humans, that's an issue.
So what you're thinking is races that live for this long take this long?
Yeah, most of them have a
2
general.
month
They'll become
lifespan.
adult
Let's
at
go
like
speedrun tactics.
15.
Die.
Some have a period when they grow become an adult at 20. Some have a period when they grow adult at like 1. So if we have a general of adulthood at like 1 to 4, 5 to 10, like 11 to 15, then 16 to 20, I think that'll be fine to have like here's their month period.
Yeah, I'm not sure what race lives for a single year.
I think it's the moth folk. Yeah,
No.
novice.
No.
Yeah, they're
They
like
live till
30.
they're
No, I
30.
meant their adulthood, not their.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
when they reach adulthood.
Ooh. No, Legacy. Pregnancy rules exist, but they're not completed. You currently cannot have children, period.
I think if people are wanting kids, then I
That's
think
what
we
I
start
wrote
working
above.
on the
That
system.
is not what you wrote about. I'm talking about the pregnancy rules do exist, but currently you cannot have children while still an active character. That is incorrect.
So I think since it's likely we were going to have people wanting to do this soon, we do focus on getting the system out.
Too far up, doesn't exist.
Yeah, we I don't think we need anything that like the old world had, where like if you have a kid, you get like +2 AC. That's definitely something we should not have. That's just going to make it a meta game mechanic where people are like, I want to have a kid, so I have a +2 AC, and not having a kid for the RP purposes.
I definitely did not appreciate the conversation that led to that happening, because it literally started off with, hey, what's a soul egg? And then it spiraled out of control where the only two people in the marriage department at the time were both like, stop fucking talking. You don't need to. Why are you giving them AC? Stop.
Mm-hmm.
It was bad.
Anyway, moving on. Does anyone have any other comments on this topic? Because really it's a headache if someone does want to make a custom backstory after retiring about being a descendant of an elderly character, then that can be discussed with lore keepers and political. That why I was specifying not while active, by the way, Pi.
People are going to want to be active while having children.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
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 That's
So
why we're gonna have to discuss this.
I think we need to focus up on getting the child birth system in place.
Give me 1 sec.
It doesn't need to be complicated. It could literally just say um, races of this adulthood range take this long to have baby.
When was this last edited?
Baby
Back in
makes
April.
baby. Or,
April, and
characters
then
make
before
baby.
that, December.
Bam. Pregnancy rules
Okay.
done.
Yeah, so this is what I had going into Syrik. Like I said, it's not done.
Oh, look at you. Look at you having a system already being work in progress.
Yeah, but the current conclusion is that until such rules are released can't have kids because political is not currently equipped to process such requests, right?
Correct.
I think then this comes into the question of what would you need as a department to be able to process pregnancy requests?
A full confirmation on if you are denied adventuring when you become pregnant or at a certain point.
So this is the conversation that
Yeah.
was actually why this was added to the list of things to discuss.
Probably.
I know that for the last trimester, so last little bit of the pregnancy, I was like they shouldn't be adventuring. Not because I'm like, oh, the baby might be hurt or anything like that. It's just like mechanically you'd be facing detriments where you're not gonna be like a disservice to your party. You'll still be very effective. And there's definitely scenes where pregnant individuals had to fight in wars and stuff. But I don't want to have to figure out the mechanics of it.
Yeah. Just cut it off at the nub. Just we're not dealing with that.
So I also was fairly harsh in my just full flat no. And I know people are like, but what if? One of the other
No.
things that was but what if was ways to speed up the pregnancy, which I was also like a full flat no. But again, I want to bring it to the conversation. I want to see what people's thoughts are instead of just being like, nerba derba derba derba, no. So, any opinions from anyone at the table in terms of pregnancy, having ways to speed up the pregnancy, like magic or whatnot? Rituals with rare ingredients was one of the suggestions. As well as any opinions, suggestions and the like for words.
There's my list of immediate questions.
I would be on your side that that's just a no for speeding up.
Yeah.
That just
think
sounds
you
like
should
even
be-
more of a headache.
I think you should be able to speed up any portion in which the player would be locked out of playing. That's the problem to me at the end of the day is when you take away the player's ability to actually adventure and play D&D. So if you want to lock them out, then I think there should be something to speed them up. And if there isn't something to lock them out, then I think they're fine to wait the full time.
Right.
And when I say speed up, I only am talking about the portion in which they would be locked.
So if we lock them from adventure for one downtime drop, you'd want something to be and don't have to wait for that.
Yes, ideally, because it's really just making sure the player still has agency during that time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can still RP, and it's all of a month.
Well, my original
They
thing was they
can,
were just
but-
retired, and then I switched to just can't be adventuring.
But imagine you're part of a long-term campaign, the new drop thing happens, and now you suddenly have to drop from the campaign because your character is pregnant for RP reasons. That's icky, and I don't want to figure out the logistics of that also. That's an unfun player experience for something that's an RP benefit. It's not even really a benefit. They're not getting anything out of it than something to add an RP.
That's fair.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean,
player agency for me.
they might I know people will probably
A pregnancy
mechanically.
is a massive life dedication, TBH.
It is,
It
yes.
should be something only done once you're done adventuring, honestly.
But I can see certain players getting their character pregnant so they can have a kid so they can mechanically have an inheritance character. I can see
Less
that occurring.
problem with inheritance, but the
Yeah.
inheritance character has to grow up. They have
It's
to
true.
become of age at some point.
Yeah.
So even if you have a child, it's however many time periods or time skips until you can even use them as an inheritor.
Yeah. So that's the only thing I can see was like a potential issue on that, but it's going to be like the rare few characters, so it's really not an issue in my mind. Um, so I think in terms of this, we either have cannot adventure during the last like let's say last 10th of the duration, so last month, so essentially one downtime drop um of the pregnancy duration, or sorry, can't do that within the last 10th of the pregnancy duration, with a way for players to be able to speed that up where they can just cast a ritual using a downtime day to just using like the recuperate action, for example, but not the recuperate,
In support of that.
to negate that last period of cannot adventure. Um, Obviously, we want to have some form of rare reagent to require, so maybe like a rare reagent of life, a rare life reagent, something that's somewhat costly, difficult to find, can be harvested through downtime action rules and stuff. I would definitely say a life reagent or a soul. Probably soul, actually. Souls are a bit rarer. Yeah. So either that, or we have no cannot adventure requirement, but we have the mechanical system for what would happen. One of the two should happen, I feel. I'm curious as to other people's thoughts.
I'd rather not mess with the mechanical personally, so I like the first idea more. That's just my 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. I don't think them being able to play the kids anytime soon is going to be an issue, because we're not having very large time jumps, and when we will, they will be in years, but they're not going to be anytime soon because we are focused more on the current storylines, which are moving into higher tiers of play rather than being like, oh, we don't have anything going on, so let's time skip.
That said, we could probably shelve this for more dedicated discussion than, general meeting.
Yeah. But it doesn't seem like there's any strong opinions one way or the other in terms of sides NDs.
Yeah, that's why I'm finding kids a massive headache to think about at all without characters just retiring to be able to make a progeny and then just playing a different character until a long enough time skip to be able to do inheritance characters or otherwise returning to their character as a parent while paying upkeep to raise the kid.
Yeah, I mean, in our current system, the only thing I would say for the progeny stuff that you'd have is um, you just increase their upkeep cost. Maybe make it so they're paying for two people instead of one person. So if they want to live an aristocratic lifestyle, then you just be like, double your upkeep cost.
I think maybe not double, but definitely increase by 50%.
I can see 50% too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Double seems kind of feels bad.
I mean, it feels bad, but it's also like going from like 10 silver to 20 silver,
Yeah.
gold to
but
2 gold.
It should feel bad, it's raising a kid.
That's not how that works, but alright. You're allowed to have that opinion.
But regardless of opinions on raising kids, they do be expensive. Yes, you're not wrong. formula is also crazy expensive. Anyways, off topic.
Moving on.
It doesn't seem like there's any strong
The
opinions
heck you
one way or
mean
the
that's
other.
not how it works. There's no tax credits for dependents here.
Regardless, I think we just go with the last tenth of the pregnancy duration. We just have it be that one cannot venture unless you utilize the recuperate action while expending a reagent of would you say rare? So tier 4 or tier 5 reagent is suitable. I'm leaning more towards the tier 5, so very rare, minor very rare, but
I think tier 5 fits.
yeah, because rare tier
Because
4 is a
we-
little too easy to acquire right now.
I think tier 5 fits because if you really 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 want to speed it up, you should have to spend a fair amount of money for it.
All right.
Only one use of downtime necessary for how long? The entire period, or like for 1 month.
As long as the second option is there, it is good because we know people are going to be like, well, blah, 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 blah. So just have an option there for them.
Yeah, the reason why I'm saying it's 1/10 is because of cases wherein we have like short-lived races who only have, for example, like a 2-month pregnancy. Yeah, just straight negates it. So that one DTD. Oh, I need to edit that real quick. Edit message. With the expenditure of a very rare life or soul reagent. Bam. It'd be tier 5.
Is
It's
that
very
T4
rare.
or T5? Sorry.
It'd be tier 5. Because a very rare is tier 5. Technically, it's a tier 4 currently, because our mundane are currently tier 0. But in the new guide, it's tier 5, so I'm just making it sure it's set to the new rules, so we don't have to go in and find that obscure rule and edit it. They cannot currently, but when we unlock tier 2 fully, yes, they will be. So at the current moment, since we do not have tier 2 fully released, the highest they can do would be a excellent, I believe. And then those who have Master Craftsmen, I think they're able to harvest at tier 4 or at tier 5. And we have a very long discussion to have for economy team for next economy meeting.
Wait, falling back quickly. So to be clear, right now no kids possible because rules are not yet released, right?
Correct. The
Making
rules
sure
aren't
of
done,
our
so you
stance
can't.
so there's a clear answer. We're working on it on the political and lore keeper ends, but until further notice of discussion and release, none of this is active.
No kids until we say so.
Yeah. So once the pregnancies system that we have in progress is on paper, on the World Anvil, and released, no kids on until then. But I think it should be a focus, because I imagine
Okay,
that our
perfect.
people will be...
I'm gonna start prepping next topic. Feel free to keep talking.
Yeah. But I do feel like this is going to be something that people want to do soon, so if we can get that pregnancy system up on World Anvil soon, that'd be good. As for your post there, where did you post that? Oh, just... Okay, I got blinded, hidden behind Legacy's ad for me. Once a character does reach their venerable state of age, we 100% need to roll to see when they're supposed to expire. We can just set it to the maximum for simplicity, I mean, every player character who's an adventurer, civilian, basically, um, they're notable enough that we can just say your soul's strong. You die at the maximum age. Make it simple. Um, but 100%, we should not say that they just don't die. If you choose a short-lived race and you're getting close to venerable, I would recommend you look into immortality or kids, because your character will die otherwise. If we're going to be getting anywhere close to that, though, that's another question.
Immortality is fun. Just go for immortality. We can actually make rules to support that.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I can see people being annoyed that their character's going to die from old age, but like, it's not like it's not going to be known that it's going to happen. You'll have plenty of time, because we do things by months generally for how long our time skips are. You'll have plenty of time to know that it's coming, to start looking into how to prevent death from age. Whether that's a ritual to reduce your age through like the siphoning of youth from kids, which is an evil ritual that's currently exists in system, which I have a book on how to do that. Um, or, a lichdom, fountain of youth, other things. There's multiple ways to do it. Um, that's up to players to find out if they think that they don't want to die from age. Yeah, no, definitely should have. I don't think we're gonna have decade-long time skips. No, maybe at most a 10-year time skip. But if we're talking about decades, we're currently in the time period where um, a lot of the different regions will likely be getting advanced technology pretty quickly. And if we want to keep the same vibes that we have going on, having a massive time skip will be difficult, especially if the players start heavily pushing to increase a region's tech level. Yeah. But I don't see us doing anything more than a 10-year time skip. And that's going to be a rare occasion if we do end up 10 years. Probably just like a 1-2 year skip if we do a bigger jump.
I honestly foresee people being like very weirded out if we jump for more than like a year and a half.
Yeah. Like I can see like 1 to 10 year for the longer skips, but since our like storyline's so structured to the current era, until that's our storylines conclude, and we're like, well, what do we want to do now? I don't see a reason for us to do a big time skip.
I think it's okay that we're not focusing on big legacies and progenies, I'll be honest. Extended dynasties are a headache to think about, like leave your mark, but you should be trying to do that during your life, not with your progeny and stuff.
I'll make a paladin that becomes the Emperor of Eldaria. Fuck you, Legacy.
I mean, I think it should be possible for that to happen.
we're gonna table this one because it's a long discussion. We're
It
gonna move
is.
on.
Let's go to the next topic. Which may bring my notepads so I don't have to scroll up. Madness and long-term
Dynasties
removal.
work a lot better when there's distinct ages and long multiple decade time skips. And I mean that's literally possible if you cause a rebellion within the next few years somehow, lol.
Oh no. You misunderstand. This paladin will be given the position. He's not going to steal it.
Yeah, so carousing should be allowed to find characters who can produce effects that you cannot normally otherwise achieve. What I mean by that, I don't mean like I want to break the rules. I mean, hey, I want to find a cleric within the capital of Baruja who can cast the spell Greater Restoration. Yeah, carouse for that shit. Let's go do that.
Of carousal would that be, for instance? And then also, I don't think we have the rules around greater restoration or wish. So we don't know how many madnesses those actually remove.
So Wish would remove all. Greater Restoration would remove one major madness and all lesser madnesses. That's not the right terminology. I think it's like minor madness,
Minor.
short term, something like that.
We have long term, we have short term, and we have major. Depending on how bad they fuck up.
There you go.
And then it's the cost of the spell. I think it's like already 100 gold pieces. So
Yeah.
All right, so they pay the 100 gold pieces. They carouse at what level?
They would want to carouse at a upper class, I believe, because priests of that level would be considered upper class.
Could they also do like a gather information or something to find one of those priests?
Potentially, yeah. If you want to gather information to find one of those priests and then go and RP with them, perhaps make it cheaper, or perhaps just have some fun RP. I don't see why not. But the easiest one where it's just like, hey, I want to carouse so I can get a Greater Russian spell cast on me. I think that's an easy clap if you don't want to deal with like the hassle of having to RP with them. But
So they would. Do they need to, like, in addition to the carousing, which is already 250 gold for a shot at this, though a lot of players have a good shot at it?
Yeah.
Are we making it so they have to pay the 100 gold and casting costs as well?
generally, yes, unless there's like a certain thing with the temple where they just will cast this one for free.
That is what I wanted to check on. I mean, regions make their own choices, but trying to get an
Yeah.
idea of baseline rules.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you as a player do make a contact, like if your GM's like, hey, we're running games in Karstein, you guys are going to the main temple of Nepalis or, whatever within the city, and you guys meet with this fancy wancy bigwig, you have now gained a contact with them. If it's like a DM granted contact, they don't need a Kraus, so they wouldn't need to pay for that.
So, like, if you've already met a cleric who can do this sort of thing in character, you're able to return to them and ask them to do it for
Exactly.
whatever the price is through
Yeah.
RP. That's reasonable.
Yes.
Sounds good. Does carousing count as that contact made? So you use carousing, you spend the contact, you've met the level 10 cleric. Are you able to go back to them and RP later now and just say, hey, can you do this again?
If it is a specific contact that you are trying to carouse, yes. If you're just
Okay,
doing
so
the
if it's a generic one,
no.
you're out of luck.
Yeah,
Okay.
the generic one's probably just going to be like a traveling priest that happens to be able to how to do it.
Traveling priest is great. Love it.
So that's the power of a specific versus a generic. Is that generics is one and done, while specifics, one, they might be more limited in that they are very specific on what they can do because they're a specific individual, but they're also an individual that you now know and can go back to. You might not have a favor with them earned anymore because you've already used your one carouse with them as an example.
Yep.
But you can always just go back to them because that's a known NPC now.
Sounds good to me. I just wanted to check what our rules are.
Yeah. Which is why
No,
I made the distinction of earlier, this is a while ago. If you're going to give out context from carousing, if it is a generic one, best not to give them a name, or if you do, make it very clear that they're not a specific contact, because there is rules for named contacts that are very different from generic ones.
It also helps to note that it's purposely made hard to get rid of madness because it is a consequence of you fucking around.
Yeah. One of the other things kind of going in terms of this, because it happened in my game I recently ran, I would like to buff players' madness statistics, specifically their players' edge. I think having it be equal to half proficiency bonus plus the base value, so half proficiency bonus plus modifier from your highest mental stat, I think would be a good addition.
I think that would probably be something that we should look at a later time, and the reason for that was because specifically when Joki designed the system, it was not intended to be used in combat.
Yeah.
was intended to be used out of combat. So I think that if we are, and that becomes more common, that we should change something. But I'd rather that be a wider discussion,
Well, I can
since
tell
that is
you,
kind of a large change.
it's certainly true. Definitely something we can discuss in more detail. But I will say it will be more common in combat. Definitely more common than Jokey intended.
To put it easier, it is harder to do a madness outside an RP than it is in combat, because we have people who purposely avoid stuff through RP, but they won't avoid it in combat or games.
Well, I was just thinking that there's certain creatures that, by their very nature, will
Mhm.
produce madness effects, like the Aleps that my players fought,
Correct.
because they themselves, if you look at their lore, are undead that were risen into undeath due to the madness that they suffered in life. So they themselves try to spread that madness to others. So the very lore mechanic wise, or their very lore influences their mechanics to be sanity providers. Or I guess sanity destroyers. They attack sanity.
They're the
Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah. But there's other
they're
creatures
the
like that.
they're the guys in Elden Ring that shoot madness at you through their eyeballs.
Alright, looking at section 7 though. Brief discussion of reinforcing DTD rules.
Yeah, this one is mine. So way back when me and Sock used to do DTDs, we introduced a rule a very long time ago that you're not allowed to change your submission without extenuating circumstances. And that can be something like, obviously, if something would make the DTD invalid. So if your math is wrong, we understand everyone makes mistakes. It's not simple to get it right. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It's okay to change. Um, but there have been noticeable things where someone would go in RP, they would then get new knowledge, and then they would ask for their DTD to be changed. And I believe, if I remember right, it was accepted, and that kind of behavior shouldn't be allowed in general. And so this is to make it more going back and to be that place where it's malleable. Also, because with Siren having 9 or 10 of the DTDs already pretty much ready to be automated, we're not going to be able to change them once they're submitted anyway. So having it where, hey, like, I can't change my submission. Like, obviously, we understand that some things will need to be retconned, and that's okay. I'm not making an argument about that. But the rule was in place intentionally to lessen the stress that we had when we were doing it, because there was very few of us and we were having to go through such massive requests at the time that having changes was just not feasible. It's more feasible now, but with the upcoming stuff and changes, it should not be allowed in general.
Yeah. I think
So
when I first made the form to submit downtime, the intention always was thus. It was never a intention of. That's why I didn't have the ability to edit your submission. Is that once you submit, you should be 100% sure that that's what you want to do. If you're like, oh hey, as Sky was giving us an example, I just talked to someone. Can I update my submission? Generally, the answer should be no.
yeah, and I very much agree with that. But since me and Sock both have stepped down, that hasn't really been enforced at all.
Yeah.
And so this is like a reintroduction of it, especially with automation coming soon, where there's actually no way for us to change it, because the bot is intended to, based off of what Tech has said, the bot is intended to grab immediately and check as soon as we get the webhook, which would be pretty much instantaneous. So there would be no actual way for it to be changed once you're actually submitted.
To
Yeah.
be
So
clear, part of this suggestion is because we've been having new downtime handlers who are more forgiving, and this is again specifying that old stance and making sure they know they can deny more freely if they're not confident it's reasonable cause.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
and
do think this will coincide somewhat with something we've been discussing in leadership channels, which is the addition of a new department head, specifically the downtime department, that we've been looking into setting up. I know that there's some people that are thought to be good department heads for this new department that we're looking at creating. It's something that we're still discussing, just giving everyone a heads up of, hey, we're discussing this probably going to be soon when we start rolling that out.
Yes.
And that particular department will be able to handle these things like, oh, here's all the questions you guys might have about downtime. They have the answers. They're the knowledgeable banana. I mean,
At
also we can
minimum,
answer
it'll
too.
be a department. Whether it has a head or not will be up to how the group decides to function best.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's a reason why. I'm referring to Sky's question. Um, Again, want to reiterate for those who are going to watch the VOD. If you're submitting a downtime, make sure that that's what you want to do, because you are dedicating your days to do that. There's no takes backsies, unless it's like an illegal move. In which case, obviously, we'll just retcon it. But at a certain point, if there's enough illegal moves taken, um, it might be either just any illegal moves are just outright denied, and then days are given
But
back,
yet, any
or
objections to us reinforcing the existing stance with the newer handlers? And specifying this in LW support too?
definitely think we should do this.
Yeah, like once you've hit submitted, you've committed.
Yeah.
Also, this is also to prevent the people that like make a second DDT on the assumption that their first DDT is going to get them stuff for that second DDT. Just don't do it to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, like
our
we kind of
current
got
thing.
yeah,
we
we
get
kind of got
backed up
screwed early.
and
Yeah.
Yeah, having the
people do kind
must-
of need to be able to double up on that, because
yeah,
getting things in at the end of downtime is important. Or otherwise, it's like, I want to do this, but I'm just getting kind of blocked from
Yeah.
people not be able to do it.
I'm perfectly
on our
fine if
end.
people do a double up, as long as it has a clear this only triggers if that one happens, and they don't have like this only triggers if that one happens, and then if that one doesn't happen, this one would trigger.
Yeah.
But if they don't have a giant chain of events, we don't want to be slammed with like 6 different posts. But if it's just like I'm gonna be doing this and I'm gonna be doing this,
Yeah. If
that's fine.
it's
Especially if we're
usually done
near
in terms of like harvesting into crafting or shopping into crafting. That's like
Yeah.
when they're done, like almost all the time.
and those ones will be pretty easy once the automation's done. So yeah. But we do have a spend your DTDs or you lose them rule set. That said, the spend them or lose them is technically not fully accurate because it is spend them or have them all be used for recuperate. All the ones that weren't spent already, that is. Because our default downtime is recuperate. And when automation is done, then the default will be something that can be changed. But right now it's just recuperate. Yeah. As for topic 8, spell casting rules placed on World Anvil, yes, that's easily something that can and should be added to World Anvil. Yeah, no, the default option is for automation, as Bladdersmith is saying. It's not really viable for current because of the workload that would entail. All right, number 9, some spells to convert to Syrik. There's a giant list of spells that need to be converted. Octo.
Hang on, one more question for 8.
Oh, waiting.
I think putting it in rules errata is fine because we already have potions in there.
Yeah, it can be on the rules errata page.
Yeah.
Adder not in VC, so just checking how the rules should be posted.
Current World Anvil editors would be Nebwobbles, Aurora, Nomalot, and Legacy. I don't know who these individuals are in terms of Discord naming, because Discord names will be different. But I'm pretty sure Nomalot is Laddersmith.
I wonder who the Neb one is.
I wonder, right? Totally. Yeah.
Oh yeah, very quick while we're talking about World Anvil. I'm sorry, I completely forgot about it. How are we looking for the laws being put onto World Anvil?
How's
That's
that?
like a little follow up.
Yeah. How's that document going, Pi?
It needs formatting.
Okay.
Just formatting, and then we're good to go.
Basically, yeah.
All right, you can send it to me, and I can slap it on then.
I know that Ladder started with formatting on them.
Yeah, then cool. We just keep
I
that.
need to find where the fuck
Sounds good.
that is.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, where did we talk about this? Ah, shit. Was it a World Anvil feedback?
Could be. You can just link me the document, and I'll slap it on World Anvil. I'll format it as I add it. So.
Let's see. Syrik laws.
Let's see here.
Oh, okay. So he started with the formatting for thus far Barusia.
Gotcha.
Copy. And I'm just gonna DM it to you because this is an editor link, not a
Fair enough.
viewer link like most of my stuff is.
All right. Good. As for the spells, convert to Syrik, the ones that Octo has unlocked via the boon granted to them via the patron Bullock Vos, which, by the way, is in line with a reward given at tier 2 in terms of the monetary value of the item. They got a spellbook. So if you're wondering, like, oh my goodness, we can do this, yeah, no, it has monetary value. It's easily to calculate. So it's like an easy clap reward. Anyways, a bunch of spells were in the book. A bunch of them are spells from 3.5, or not 3.5, Pathfinder. They just need converted. They've already done a lot of the conversions. I'm pretty sure they finished all the spells to be converted, so we just need to go through them and make sure that the mechanics are where we want them. And then if they're all Gouda, we slap them on World Anvil. With the addition of locked or secret. So people know that they cannot be chosen as a spell to be learned until they're fully unlocked for the world. Because right now the only one who has access to them, because of it being a boon from Pact Keeper, is Octo. And anyone that they give them to. Now if someone steals the spell book from Octo, then yeah, we can, slap it on World Anvil, assuming that it's stolen by an NPC.
If I'm understanding this right, basically someone got a spellbook with a bunch of spells that haven't been converted yet?
Correct.
What would converting them entail?
They're already converted. They're converted by a player, so we need to make sure that they are fitting our rule set, make sure that they are where we want to be. But overall, we just need to look at the balance of them.
Oh, just verification and then placing on WA.
It might be some more tweaks and then just a verification, but yeah, essentially that. I haven't fully looked at them yet. I just know that they finished the list, so I've just been focused on the equipment guide, so I haven't had time to go over them. Yeah. The big thing, though, is that they need to be noted that they are not currently available for those who do not have them unlocked. And the only one who has them unlocked currently is Octo. So people do find out about these spells from Octo having a big mouth, as an example. I don't know if they will be blabbing about it, because they seem to be somewhat of a secretive character in terms of certain things. But if they do, and they're talking about this in a public area like Eldiria, maybe some political involvement. Basically what I'm saying is, hey, if you're running in an Eldiria region, or a region where there's a lot of magic users who are not exactly good aligned, and they're blabbing about it, it should be noted. Doesn't need to be taken action, but it should be noted. Because lost knowledge to a wizard is the good.
Don't get found out.
Let's see here. Was that something just given out directly, or was it like talked about within Divinity? It was a reward given. I did not talk with the Divinity before, but also I'm also Divinity, so by default. But it wasn't really so much a faith boon as it was a item reward for completing a mission. So, you know, like I said, it all the price point for that spell book is in line with our reward system, with our reward guidelines. So if you guys wanted to give out a book with hidden spell knowledge and you didn't mind converting them, because you mind if you're giving out stuff that's not currently unlocked, it's on you to get it approved and unlocked. So if you want to do the extra work, yeah. Yeah. Patron boons, they just same mechanical pricing of magical items. That's yeah. You have a questionnaire?
Yes, he has a questionnaire like that he makes everyone do.
Yeah.
The answer for all the questions is just war.
I see. Anyways, the talk with the Bolokvos was more of a reward granting system than it was like an actual prayer. So, you know,
I would prefer if we had kept a patron like that from talking directly to people, but what's done, it's done.
the big issue with Bolokvos is they're literally in a playable reason.
Yeah.
And they're like easily accessible. So it's kind of hard not to let people talk to them.
Well, then we might need to look at them becoming less accessible, just because I have worries about players abusing that.
Yeah, no worries. It will be less accessible soon. It's just I need the Whispering Knights campaign to kick off again. So we're discussing right now scheduling, so it's in the process.
Yeah, because now that one player knows they can go to this patron, there's potential for people to.
Yeah.
Probably 4 people.
They definitely should be brought to balance. Legacy, 100%. They should be brought to balance. I believe Balance is already aware of them and have started the discussion, but yeah. I do agree that the Bolokvos being so easily accessible is an issue. But also, it's in my update for the next arc of Whispering Knights, it is listed on how that might be resolved. So I just need the campaign to start. That too.
We also just had to keep consistent with things. I don't want people getting upset.
Yeah.
Or people complaining that divine related things get them easier stuff, like how Sky has complained in the past about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll talk more about some of this stuff in my topic.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, the stuff given out from the Bolokvos, again, just falls into reward guidelines. So if they were looking for things that could not have been granted by rewards or from like downtime for like research and stuff, I wouldn't have offered it. And I know that I think Sithams was the one who was asking about this. If players encountered the Bolokvos in their games, they asked me what things that he could do, and I was like, just within reward guidelines. That's what I said.
Oh,
So
I believe it was in reference to Octo and them because
Oh.
they had been asking about it, and
Mhm.
they asked if I could run it if you weren't available. So
I see. I thought it was for something like with the vampire group.
nope.
Well, there you go. Anyways, if you do happen to encounter a patron, use reward guidelines for what you can provide. Otherwise,
Legacy, DC.
yeah. Otherwise, it needs to be
Yeah. Keep
uh,
on the down low. I know technically a outsider beyond a certain level is a patron, etc., but
the main other reason is because I know there's patrons available in Dolator, so I want to make sure
yeah,
that
just try to keep them rare.
yeah,
It's no fun if they're all over the place. Is partly my
Yeah.
reasoning.
patrons should be hard to find and speak with. Which is why I'm somewhat okay with Bullock Vos currently, which is not heavily focused on getting it updated, because
Just in,
you need to get approval to go into those woods anyways.
just in living worlds, and I don't want to cause issues and people
Mhm.
getting upset over things,
That's fair. Definitely fair.
especially since like being a warlock in the living world is kind of worse than being one in the home game just because of the constraints on people's times and all that.
Yeah. All right. Looking back at that before we get to topic 10, um, the current system for prestige unlocks, if they are vague like that one, is they say, I want to do this. They come to us with their suggestion of, hey, I want to unlock a race. Specific, and if they're like, I just want to unlock a race, we're like, cool, we'll choose for you. Um, if they give us a specific of like, hey, I want to unlock the slime race, like, cool, that's a viable option. Or if they're like, I want to unlock the race called the, I don't know, the Wabbajack. I don't fucking know. Something that doesn't exist. We're like, that doesn't exist. Denied.
That'll be fine. Totally.
Yeah, so they don't spend the prestige if we do deny it. It just means that it doesn't exist. Ask again. Now, if they write up a potential race for us, I mean, if it looks good, I'm not saying we can't approve it. But generally, yeah, no, it has to be an existing race to be
Okay, so
unlocked.
it's a way to potentially contribute stuff into the setting, not just picking from a strict list.
Yeah, no, I mean, we don't even have a list of all the unlockable races because there's a fuck ton of races to be unlocked. So, yeah, no, it's just ways for them to contribute to make their mark on the world, whether that be new races unlocked, new
Yep,
classes.
just checking to see if that was a thing since it was called unlocking rather than adding, but good to have that clear.
Yeah. Yeah, the race has to be a humanoid or undying. Or technically living construct. Basically, it has to be one of the playable races on the species page. Oh, there's
Okay,
already a
number
slime
10
race.
is just labeled divinity stuff. Is this general meeting stuff suck or should it be cut from main meeting?
No, it'll be fine. I can talk about the stuff. It's partly me wanting to get feedback from the staff at large about things, and also talking to NERP to get some guidelines on certain things as we're heading
Sounds
into
good,
tier
go
2.
ahead.
Indeed, shoot your questions. Shoot your stuff.
Right. I'm wanting to get out rules both for players and staff on divinity related stuff as we're heading to tier 2, and divinity related stuff is going to be becoming more and more common. I partly have rules down that I'm going to want to get on the World Anvil for players, just so they know how to interact with all this kind of stuff and like what they themselves need to do, and also just getting the rule about Oathbreakers that we have out onto the World Anvil. Also, but part of that is I want to get rules and guidelines for staff on how to do stuff with Divinity. If that makes sense. Basically, like, hey, I'm a DM. How am I supposed to add Divinity related stuff into my things?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I posted a document that has current rules that I have written down. Third rules are probably just going to stay in the Discord because that's just rules for Divinity. People in the Divinity system. And I guess as people kind of start reading over those, I did want to get guidance on prayers as we're heading into Tier 2. I'm considering opening it up for players to actually start getting responses around level 7.
Nice.
Do you have a rule set for prayers already, or is that something we are going to be working up as Divinity?
Yeah, so the rule that I always use for prayers is
And
if it's a
I do. Also want to have rules like open players, so that's why I don't want this muted, taken out, etc.
yeah.
So I want players to know what they're getting into.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, the current rule I have, if it's a deity, I have the player make a faith check, which is D20 plus their casting stat, plus their level in the divine class, or any divine classes that they have. So if they're like
And they
level
don't have a
5 cleric,
casting.
level 2 paladin, then they'd roll D20 plus 7 plus their casting stat of probably wisdom. And that would set the percentage chance of getting an answer to their prayer. So then you'd roll a D100. So if they rolled like a 13, a 13 or lower would give them an answer to the prayer.
And I'm thinking that we'll have hidden modifiers, plus or minus, depending on things.
Definitely, yeah. So like one of the things I have is if they're in like a region it's like heavily influenced by the cult of Baphomet, and they're a priest of say Andrea. They're deep in the pocket of a different deity. Even if they're just a patron instead of a deity, they're still in a like basically a temple of a hostile deity. So their prayer would have a lower chance of success because the other deity is actively fighting against them, or the patron's actively fighting against their prayer. Though Baphomet's dead, so it wouldn't be bad
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah. Just wanted to get I was pretty sure you had something out there. I just wanted to get it written down so we start working on it. I have it there for the Divinity to start processing.
Indeed.
Whereas when people start asking for stuff.
Now for patrons and prayers to patrons, a bit different.
Okay.
If you want to keep it for the same system, just for simplicity, that's good to go. But since patrons are not as powerful, I just have it be a D20 roll, and if it's like a natural 20, then cool, they get an answer.
Okay. I might have it stick more towards the God one, but
yeah, whatever you want to do, that works
changes,
for me.
But yeah.
Also because warlocks are not like patrons are not as powerful as deities, I would have it generally be a lower percentage chance. So
yeah,
maybe not give them their casting stat, maybe not give them their level, something like that.
Yeah, I'll probably keep it anything that the gods can do on the lower side outside of divine intervention, just because there has to be a reason for having that class feature.
Yeah, my main thing for that class feature that I've done in my home games is that it's a guaranteed feature that you know you have access to. A prayer might not be answered.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, divine intervention does have a percentage chance of success, but it's also like you know you can use this feature here regardless. So like even if you're in the deepest pits of a Baphomet cult, hey, you can use this feature. There's no like weird wibbly wobbly modifiers that we might apply to it.
In chat, she's mentioned stepping back from gods getting involved. I think that might be concern stemming from what degree prayer responses will take form of. Any clarification on what form this T2 prayer response would manifest in?
They could potentially
just visions or speech, or any mechanical effects.
Theophany is going to be the most common one, but outside of rare circumstances, I want divine intervention to be mostly the mechanical things. There can be some circumstances we'll work out a thing, as Berserk's saying, like giving something. But yeah. Oh no, cleric should look at that because like I'm going to be directly asking people to like tell on themselves. Deb. Yeah. For anything mechanical, it's going to be very rare for a non-divine intervention prayer to happen and help you get anything. But I'm going to probably write out rules for there being a chance of that just because non-clerics and warlocks should be able to have that. Like a paladin should be able to have their god come in and help them with something.
Divine Intervention is literally the same ability as Patronage, yeah. It's just patron
Speaking
versus
of divine,
player.
I need to sit down with Nerp and you to get some clarifications on Tiffin later, but yet.
I'm just going to disagree with you, Sky. I think this helps build more things for people, and people are really interested in this kind of thing. Yeah, a non-faith class will have a chance, just a lot lower.
They just don't have their level. I think since you're concerned also probably lies heavily in how I've run prayers in my home games and probably how prayers were run in the old living world. I think, as Sak is saying, it's not going to be anywhere near as potent as those.
You know what, Sky? If you want to go with that, we can just take away all divinity and I'll just quit. I'm getting really tired of you being really hostile on these kind of things.
I wouldn't really consider that hostile so
They've
much
been
as just.
hostile in the past about anything divinity related, and it's really starting to get to me.
I think that's more of their understand the lore side of things, but
Yeah, I want
think
eyes on the dogs. I want feedback. I want to know what the staff needs from divinity.
All right, I'm just lore master. I won't tell you lore shit. Fuck it.
all right then.
well, that happened.
Yeah, I want feedback on how to do this and how to create a more fun world for the players to interact with divinity, as I actually have time to do stuff now.
Well, that happened. Um, they're not fully wrong in that the gods and why they're so silent is because of lore stuff.
But from what I understand, that lore stuff it's also changed, and it's stuff that they aren't privy to because of spoilers of their own character.
There's some reasons why it's viable. So essentially, at a certain level, it should be viable.
Yeah.
Which is why prayers were just outright denied until, this level.
Yeah.
Because in the past, I've had prayers viable at level 1, as an example. So I think that just might be a disconnect with them and the understanding of the lore. Because I have made it clear to them that prayers should not be answerable. But I think that they just forgot about part of once you hit a certain level, they should be.
Yeah, that was part of early discussions with divinity that we thought we all agreed on, but we do, at least on divinities. We are still working on filling out the divinities. I did get Torque done and stuff for peer
Nice.
review right now.
Is that what the at in Divinity team is right now?
Yeah.
Cool. Alright, I'll look at that.
Been on the dock for 4 months.
My major thing is divinity rules for players and staff. I want to know what I need to have in those for people to know how to work with all these things.
Mhm.
And I want to build out the prayer system a bit just so people in divinity know how to respond to prayers. Because, like, Berserk has some questions. I want to get those answers, just like answering them right now. Probably not the best. We can talk about it.
Yeah.
Come to a consensus as divinity.
I think I'm going a bit more in depth in terms of the Divinity specific meeting for these rule sets, but
Yeah, that's part of what I'm going for is like a rule set for divinity.
But now you know how the roles function, so or at least how I've been doing them.
Yeah. Like, I'm pretty sure I've asked you in the past. I just wanted to make sure, get them down. And, like, I think we've even told players, like, not to late tier 2 or re-answering prayers.
Yeah, definitely no later than level 7 though, or no earlier than
Yeah.
level 7.
I think level 7 was what we agreed on, but I'm having a hard time finding in the notes exactly where we put that number
Yeah.
originally. It's just like late tier 2 is always what I see in my notes.
I don't think we set a real number. I think it was just like late tier 2. So
Yeah.
A question I had was, you noted that RP related stuff has low ranking clergy compared to high ranking. What is your definition of high ranking and low ranking?
Someone important, like
Okay.
the popes, I would say a bishop
Sure.
level
Yeah.
person in the clergy. Like, I know not all churches are going to have like a bishop, but like
Mhm.
something like that.
Okay. I just want to have an understanding compared to like, oh, he's a cleric of level 7. Is that considered high or low? Just to get a gauge on it.
Yeah, like most.
Hey, I know it's a very hard thing compared to a cleric to like an actual clergy member, right?
Yeah,
Like
I would
someone
say
in an organization. So I'm just making sure
a
that it's
cleric of
related
any
to the
level could
organization.
technically not be anything above like a bishop or higher. But like just like
Okay.
their rankings within the church at that point. It's like more political and just like the RP thing instead of
Gotcha.
like a strict level.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was separate between the level of what they are and like their position in it. Thank you.
Yeah, it is their position, not their level strictly. Like there's a good correlation between like the strongest person in church probably being a very high level cleric, but
that's just probably because of their position in the church relative to the god.
Yeah, and that completely makes sense. But from a DM side, right, and as like a region head side, I kind of want to know too to just understand if they interact with an organization compared to if they interact with just like an adventuring cleric. So like that kind of helps me along those lines of okay, when should I contact, when should I not, what is considered high. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and like also stuff for like missions. I would like to know what people would like to know what they could do on missions because I like gotten questions from Berserk like what can I do with divinity stuff and missions. And just like want like feedback on like what do you guys want to know, so we can write limits, guidelines, and whatnot.
Yeah, I think
partly,
we've. Go ahead.
As I was talking with Harper earlier,
Anything
like,
else in particular about this talk? Might be good to
just
have a Divinity/Region head meeting at some point to discuss a baseline for Divinity because it's been so disconnected that we'll need to get it clear how it to start integrating closer.
yeah, I mean, the guidelines supposedly meant just wait till late tier 2.
Yeah, that's completely fine.
And we're getting there, so I wanted to start building out like what things will be looking like. And now that I'm not drowning between full-time classes and almost full-time work, I have a breathing room.
Nice.
Like I'm also like trying to get like stuff I've seen people ask like, what do I know about on the divinity pages? Like that's part of what the rules are. I'm also going to try to start
Got 2
working
suggestion box things to go over, then we're done except for like reviewing forum stuff, but that's not for meeting anyway.
Yeah, so if anyone has any feedback, I'm open.
Cute.
Not right now, but I'm sure I'll find some questions and stuff just to think about.
Okay. I also just need to get the Oathbreaker rule out.
Yeah. I think on here I did notice the something of the Oathbreaker. Imply that they can have the class while still having no god. I think that one I'm against.
Okay.
Because it is a divine class, so by itself it should not. Some god should be given them power.
Yeah, we did have that rule, though I was trying to keep it secret. You kind of blurted out on the rule chat at one point. But yeah, like everyone goes back to a certain god, even if they don't realize it.
Yeah. I know that we have the secret part to it, but just in the write-up here, it implied that did not exist. I want to make it very clear for like our rule set that it is not a thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Some god will be taking over the
Yeah.
powers you're getting.
Exactly.
Just if people might not have to declare it if they care or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's something we'll talk about in Divinity, I guess.
Yeah.
I go back and forth between trying to be strict and more less strict. I'm a mess.
All good. One of the things, by the way, for the faction creation system I've been working on is theme specific benefits. I think there's a total of 7 themes. One of them is faith theme, so like the different churches will have the ability to make a faction of that church. They all exist already. Obviously, like the Church of Eldiria is a massive fucking faction, and they already have sub factions, being like the Templar Eldiria. But if players wanted to build more into their faith, that is one way to do it, is to work towards unlocking a church faction. Players can, like, benefit from the factional benefits of a church. I don't want them to be released on start because that's a lot of churches to make factions for. But that might coincide with you and Divinity and all that because of
The piety system might just
things.
overtake that.
Yeah. Or maybe the factional benefits will be tied more heavily towards the piety system.
Yeah.
So, like, maybe for, like, divine factions, they'll have benefit options where they can choose if you are, like, a non-divine class, you can get more piety options than you would otherwise have.
Yeah.
Or something. I don't know. Something like that. It's something to look at, but I'll look at you, or I'll get with you when I get to the point of making benefits that are specific to faith-based factions. Anyways, with all that said, I think we're good to move on to number 10, unless there's anything else. Or number 11. We were just on number 10.
10 was Divinity, we're on just miscellaneous now.
Yeah. Where that suggestion box be? Or ledgers, maybe?
First one was a suggestion to make identification through guild, posted in no mic.
No. That's hireling
I
rules.
think this is a carousing/RP thing.
Yeah, I think that's more like grousing RP hireling rules. I think the less mechanics we tie to the guild, the better, to be honest.
I agree. I also think that's also a little. I have something else I need to bring up later to remind me to ask you about it later.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
I was going to say
Second suggestion is this.
So yeah, no, the less mechanics tied to the guild, the better, is all really I was getting at. It should be as meta a system as possible, because it is not supposed to be.
It's not supposed to have a lot of rules.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Like, even the addition of they will not allow smuggling is, I think, a little too much rule set for me for the guild. But that's something that we kind of like band-aid fix until we can get a system in place, so it's fine. Like, I think the only thing that really should be doing is it transports you to and from missions. If you're wanting to smuggle, you just roll a smuggling check as if you were crossing a border. I think that's pretty much the only thing I think we should be doing, but the system we have in place right now is fine. It's something we can discuss in the future. So I don't think it's too much of an issue right now. We have other things to focus on. All right. Crossing hireling RP. They do. That's in durability rules. Yeah. It's already in the rule set. If items like gear, weapons, and armor have a higher quality, like, fine. That's the question I'm referring to. Shouldn't the HP and maybe the AC or hardness of said items increase too? Yes. That is in the rule set for durability. It's there. It's noted. Yeah, no. For any travel through a Menhir or a Way Shrine, um, the travel downtime option already lists it out on how long it takes. The big thing is you need to attune to it, as if you're attuning to a magical item. You don't have a attunement limit with Menhir Way Shrines. Way Shrines can only teleport to Way Shrines. Menhir can only teleport to Menhir. Both act as a teleportation circle, so once you're attuned to it, you are knowledgeable of that region's, that Menhir, that Way Shrine's teleportation circle, essentially. Um, and otherwise, you can just teleport to it using the, as long as you're physically at another one. So, it is a way, essentially, if like a player gets a Way Shrine in Baruja and then finds a Way Shrine in, say, Eldiria, they can just be like, I want to travel Way Shrine. Bam. No. That depends on the Way Shrine. So, like, most Way Shrines will have some form of Way Shrine outside of capital cities. These are going to be fairly restricted on the continent of Hakuta, so for these ones, generally not player accessible without some form of, like, highfalutin political power or whatnot, or payment. Basically, what I'm getting at is Way Shrine travel will probably be rare or only found in, like, the obscure regions. Well, Menhir, they're all run by the Druids, so you have to be trusted by the Druid circle where the Way Shrine is, or where the Menhir stones are. And if you are trusted, then cool, they'll let you travel. If you aren't, then fuck off. So basically, it's a faction that's proving the players travel, and if they piss off the faction, then they lose access, even if they're still tuned. Because if they do happen to travel and they piss off the faction, well, they're an enemy, and they're invading Druid territory. So, if we have someone who's pissed off a Druid faction, well, they're teleporting directly into a hostile region. Yeah, don't piss off the Druids. So, like, the Way Shrines, generally they're going to be controlled by the governments, or they might be rare and, like, lost in ancient dungeons, so players will actually have to go on missions to find them. Or in the case of, like, the one that's right outside the city of High Shade, it's clearly visible. It's just there. They can attune to it. Then yeah, then just they're fine to use. But all Menhir are either at a currently functioning Druidic circle, or at a Druidic circle that has been corrupted or otherwise abandoned and destroyed. So there's probably something guarding it. So some semblance of something will have to occur for Menhir stones to be used. Whether that's just through being like, hey, cool, hey, I see you're a druid, go on and use it. Or, hey, we don't trust you, come help us with this thing, we'll let you use it. Or, hey, there's a monster there guarding it, go kill it. Or, some other reason why they can't use it just instantly. But generally, if they're a druid, they can just go ahead and use it. Or if they're a ranger, they can. A little bit less, they can just go ahead and use it, but they, a bit more trusted. They, be a bit more open to when talk and actually use it from just talking. But yeah, all Menhir, all Way Shrines are on a case by case basis. Any other questions, suggestion boxes, and stuff like that?
There's one review request. That's something to review for later, but on that note I wanted to ask if parchment paper can be used for anything. It can't be used for blueprints, right?
Not for blueprints, no. For the blueprint rules, their own world anvil. What do you mean by it? Can it be used for anything?
Stationary can be used for blueprints though, right?
Stationary can be used for blueprints, yes. I have looked through a little bit of it already, ND, for the familiar system. I just haven't finished reading through it.
I'm sorry, what was that? I was reading Neb's message and didn't hear you.
I have read through some of it. I just haven't finished it, so I haven't responded to it.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm mostly just playing, just letting you know it's out there.
Yeah, I'm just giving you an update that I have looked at it somewhat.
Cool beans. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. Cuckoo, anything else to bring up?
I'll give the context on that after the meeting since it's a player inventory thing, but yeah, we're all set.
Cool.
Could review the forums if there's any new stuff we haven't labeled or reviewed yet, but otherwise we're all good.
All right, just run up real quick. Nothing of note that I have not glanced at yet. Then, all right. On this case, anything anyone would like to bring up? Things to note down, things to discuss before we call the meeting. In terms of familiars, I haven't gone to this point in the guide, but if we're allowing custom creation of familiars, like building unique familiars, which I believe that's the whole point of the system, only one of those should be allowed per player. So that is your familiar, that custom one, and then they can just use the generic, like I summon a toad. But I'll look at the system. I haven't gotten to that point in the system, so I want to read through it and see what you have before I go into too much of what should and shouldn't be. Yeah. Also, if you haven't released the familiars for public view, feel free to do so. I'm still going through it, but so far it looks pretty good.
It's already been released to the public and
Nice.
done final, and I've cut that stream off and then put a final version out on our end.
Nice.
So,
All right.
but are you saying like a person can make one familiar for their whole life, and then once that familiar goes down, that's the only familiar they're ever summoning?
Oh no. I more mean like
Oh,
if you are allowing players to make a custom familiar, like for example, Eidolons, how unique they can be from a Pathfinder, where you can like mix and match different abilities to make it something that's entirely yours. They should only be allowed one of those, one custom built familiar. That way, we don't have like, hey, I want to resummon this and then make entirely new monster creation system to make my new familiar, and then because if you're doing that mid combat or mid session, it's gonna take a while. If we have them be like, here's your one and done, maybe the feat that you made gives them an additional form or a couple additional forms, so they can have a couple ones and dones.
I see what you're saying. That's
Yeah.
not my original intent, but that's something that I feel like we could add to it.
Yeah, I need to finish reading through the thing just to make sure that this what I'm saying is not talking out my ass. But yeah, just a little thing. Yeah. I don't want to say that they like with the custom thing if they do make a custom build it yourself Lego familiar as some people were calling it. Um, I don't want to say that if they do have one of those, they can't then just summon a generic cat or like convert their custom one to a generic cat form because it's still the same familiar generally. Um, they can totally do that. It's just custom stats, the custom unique features should be tied to that one custom form. And if they have the feat, maybe we give them multiple forms that they can convert it to. Just more like a time-wise hassle sort of issue. If we limit it to one, it's not going to cause us so much issues in play.
Let me know when meeting's done. I'll post the review information.
Yeah. But anything anyone else would like to discuss? Things to bring up? Things to talk about?
Moderation stuff. I think it's good that we're moving forward, talking about getting more stuff done. But I do also want to say we need to be better ourselves with how we interact with the community. I understand sometimes we get really frustrated and overheated and snap out and lash out at people, but we ourselves need to be better, and we need to be able to call out each other when we kind of go over that line.
That's certainly fair.
If we want a better community for all this, it needs to start with us.
If that's occurring, please do note it down and report it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's just people have been terse with people.
Indeed.
Kind of like a little Living World general chat. See that right now, kind of with Neb and Kobe, but we need to
Yeah, I
be
think
better.
as staff, holding ourselves to a higher standard is important.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And I'll work on trying to call people out a little bit on how they interact with people, because
Yeah.
sometimes it just might be you don't realize you're as abrasive as you are. And there's been times where I've gotten down to the muck and have not acted as I should have.
It's important, but we can't hold that standard if we don't spot it.
It's
Things
true.
Yeah.
very much move faster than we spot, but it's good to call it out and communicate it clearly.
Yes, and as staff, you guys do have full on the ability to like report people and whatnot. So if you assume people are reporting it, it's fine if we have multiple reports for the same thing. Just you see, say something, say something.
Just get us a paper trail, I beg.
Yeah. Also going into that, if anyone does have interest in doing more moderation duties, that is something we are actively recruiting for. So if you have interest in that and you're, you know, why not? Just let us know. Let's make an application post for staff for that. Which goes into the community as well. If you guys are interested in DMing or RP eventing or moderation or one of the others I have listed on the application form, because I did add that to it. As always, help is appreciated. All right, though. One last thing, though, we are also probably going to be a bit more strict with the "do not be an asshole" rule. Like we've been very loosey goosey of just like, hey, knock it off. We might start be giving points now because it's becoming an issue to the point where we might need to give points.
I think we're past the point where we should be giving points for that.
I'm with Sock on that too.
Yeah, I'm just letting people now know that hey, if you keep being an asshole, we'll be noting this down and not just being like, hey, slap on the wrist. Things will actually happen. Because it's become an issue to the point where it shouldn't be an issue, but here we are.
It's a large community and people get upset over things,
Yeah.
rivalries form, etc., etc. Just
Indeed.
need to be better about it. We need to be on the ball a bit. Sometimes people don't realize they're really being an asshole until
People aren't getting points mostly because there haven't actually been formal reports to investigate, but yes. If you see something, say something, staff or player. We have the form for a reason and it does get reviewed regularly.
Don't we have a rule for that already, ND? Or should we do? We do not. No. Don't mind me while I go write that up
What
real
do you
quick.
mean we don't?
I thought we did, but there's also
What?
Rule 12.
There's one about
normally,
respecting
yeah.
the chain of command, basically, but that's more specified
Okay.
on listening to moderator, or like staff are over moderators, over
Gotcha.
heads, over what.
All
I
right.
mean, that's still also disrespecting staff.
I'll add it to the chain of command
It's
one
not
so it's
very
clear.
clear.
I'll make it clear.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. I mean, as per an argument that happened way back in the old living world, common sense is not as common as you think it is, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh my
Nope.
Bro,
goodness.
common
Actually
sense
has
more
that.
like rare sense, dog. For real.
Mhm.
Like, literally nobody has any common sense, and I'm going to piss off a bunch of people saying this, but every single person in this server, in some way, shape, or form, is stupid. That's just how life works.
They also can't read, apparently. But
Well,
I mean, that's a
just
common
D&D
D&D
players.
player thing. Yeah, it's just D&D players don't read.
Put up the AI one up on there too while we're at it.
AI one.
That
Yeah.
the one we put in the admin.
Yeah.
Since that was a pressing thing that had to be brought up, and I didn't put it up there yet due to stuff.
What's happening?
You know, that definitely there, Guji.
Yeah.
If
Ruling about AI.
Okay,
stuff.
we're pretty much done here.
Word.
Thanks everyone for the great work and have a great day night.
Goodbye.
Indeed. Hope everyone have a good one. Appreciate all the help, all the work, all that good stuff. Gonna drop the recording here as we are at our point, and I am 14 minutes over when I should have stopped this. So thank you, Legacy. Wow.